Well, on Good Friday there, Bob, you had that diatribe about what they were doing to London. Now, how much of that was the actor and how much of that was Bob Hoskins expressing his own beliefs?
Well, I thought I was going over the top. I thought it was all sort of, you know, fairyland, but after finding out what's been going on down here, that makes a long Good Friday look like a story out of Winnie the Pooh.
Well, what is going on?
Well, that, for example, look at that. Got a bleeding great Mars bar on the Thames. But it's sort of...
An office block, actually, but still.
Yeah, it's a Mars bar. But there's £1,200 million worth of redevelopment going on right the way down the river. The whole lot. Right? You imagine that. The whole thing's up for grabs. Makes a 60s sort of redevelopment epidemic look like a little rash. You see that building there?
Yeah.
Now, between there and here, there's going to be a bleeding great block of offices. It's going to go up in between us. And that's just a fraction of the mile-long slab of buildings that will change the face of Waterloo and the river there, if the developer, Greycoat Commercial Estates, gets their way.
Well, what we've got here, Bob, is the Coin Street car park, but it looks like the oldest bomb site in London.
Well, it wasn't bombed.
What happened?
Well, they pulled that down for the Festival of Britain in 1951. That's how it's been ever since. You know, look at it.
Well, what was here before?
Houses. People used to live here. You know.
Well, what happened to the people?
Well, they've stacked them all up in concrete blocks. They've left all this totally open for property developers to make a fortune out of spaces that used to be people's homes. Listen, last year, London spent £12.5 million on homeless people, right?
Yeah.
£2 million in Lambeth alone.
Yeah.
Look at it. Right next to Coin Street is this example of what happens if you don't consult the local people. In 1970, a huge property group said they'd build flats, shops and a hotel, not to mention a riverside walk, if they could have a great tower for one of their companies to put their staff in, handy for their head office next door. Well, once they got the tower up, the company brass pushed off down to Surrey. Their building was sold off and the new owners are now doing it up a bit to let it. And now they say they're going to move out of the tower as well. So because of that 1970 planning decision, we've got a bit of the South Bank which, far from having new life, feels and looks completely dead. The hotel has never been finished, let alone occupied. They've gradually been turning it into offices. Last month they had to have another inquiry to see if the whole thing could become an office block, just in case those two weren't enough for this bit of the river. They'll be making their minds up about that any time now. And take the flats. They're far too pricey for people who live around here and want somewhere to live. And despite all the trade they could be getting from all those office workers commuting in every day, they've had a real job letting a space for the shopping arcade. There are blank concrete walls there even now. These blokes have just moved in. And the one thing that everybody wanted, the riverside walk, that's been shut right off. It's not easy to get to see the Thames these days.
You were going to show me the river. Where's that, then?
Well, it's just behind that wall, but...
Well, how'd you get there?
Well, the developers have locked most of it off. We might be able to... You into a bit of housebreak, you know?
Yeah, I don't mind.
All right, well,
my form of trade.
Well, if we break into this warehouse, we might be able to get through to the other side.
Yeah, there's a lovely view of the river from here. I mean, it's just over there, is it?
That's it, yeah. Yeah, there's a door over here.
Let's go in.
Right.
So far, so good. Bob, no sign of the fuzz yet.
Well, don't worry, son, if we get nicked, there's a site for the old Clink prison round the corner. There you
are. Oh, the river.
Yes.
God, at last.
Yeah. This is St Mary over his wharf. In a couple of weeks or so, the Wrestletine's got to decide whether this lot's coming down. Another office block to match that Mars bar on the other side of the inlet there. Oh, yeah, see that?
Yeah.
That inlet, it's a medieval inlet, I'll show you.
What, down here?
Yeah. This bit here. Look at it. A few years ago, the building that was there burnt down. For the first time in, what, half a century, you could see Southwark cathedrals from the other side of the Thames. Before you could say planning permission, they started putting that lot up.
You mean before they actually got planning permission?
Nah, they got it, all right. That's not hard, is it? As long as you don't want to build houses. That's the way it seems to me, anyway. Now, this is the end of Hayes Wharf.
Yeah.
And it starts at London Bridge and comes all the way down here to Tower Bridge. That's 25 acres. Well, it's supposed to be the most important redevelopment area since the Great Fire. People have made fortunes, absolute fortunes. Do you remember Jim Slater?
Oh, indeed, yes.
Right. He once said, when I think of Hayes Wolf, I get a warm glow. Ain't surprising when you think that he made £1.5 million in 2 weeks trading in Hayes Wolf shares.
Who owns all this now, Bob?
It's all owned by Kuwaiti Investments. They wanted to put up 2 million square feet of offices all along there.
Yeah.
Fortunately, Esseltine put the block on it, but well, they're still going to put up a lot of it. About 750,000 square feet of offices anyway.
That's enough, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, Bob, look, let's have one more try at getting to this river. I mean, we can see it from here, but you can't get close to it.
I'm sorry about this, Barry, you know, I mean, we must be able to get on the river somewhere.
I think it's impossible, frankly.
It's all right.
There's a distinct smell of spices and curry around here, Bob. Have you noticed?
Yeah. You still smell the old spices they used to store here.
These are smashing, these buildings, aren't these old warehouses?
Yeah.
Great.
We got to remember, though, Barry, is that London always had a really practical attitude towards the river, because it's where they worked. You know, they worked here and they lived round the back. People still live round the back there, a few of them, in the most appalling conditions possible. It's all waiting for the property developer to tear down their house, and no one maintains their houses. They're living in the most atrocious conditions.
This is your back garden, Bob. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, look at it. Right, blight. Do you know there's more derelict land now than there was at the height of the Blitz?
Really? What, along this part of London?
Absolutely, yeah. The report on your Hayes Wolf,
Yeah.
they said that Riverside's sort of land was totally inappropriate or unfit for family housing.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Well, you see that, there's a tower there, there's a city there. You know, it's far too important for ordinary people. You know, it's sterilised by greed. That's what the Thames is.
And right across there, of course, you've got Wapping, haven't you?
And that's another story. All along there, they've got a load of warehouses right on the river. They've got workshops and light industry in there. And they're all getting turfed out because they're going to turn those warehouses into luxury flats, right? Then they're going to run a road right the way through the middle of it, like separating sort of the water people, the rich Wapping who live by the river, and the poor Wapping who live on the other side of the road. It's called regenerating the river, you know, or bringing it back to life, sort of making it a playground for the wealthy.
Well, yeah, I suppose the wealthy can afford the nice sites on the river. I mean, you know, they can pay for it. But what about the things like the Coin Street development and the people who are going to live there? Who's going to pay for that?
Look, Barry, Coin Street and all those things are a typical example of what is going on at the moment. We spend billions every year on making missiles that are so powerful that they're redundant before they're made, because our only hope is to sort of not use them.
Yeah.
Well, why couldn't we spend some of that money, just some of that money, on making this a nice place to live for everybody? And if there was a nice place to live, maybe there wouldn't be this morbid industry sort of interest in blowing it up all the time.
Let's go back and have a look at Coin Street. We'll go back across your garden, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen them
lovely
having a
place.
few daffs round by the border there.
I think you need something, Bob.
You like the rockery?
The rockery's good, yes. A few plants would help. God, it's awful, isn't it?
Terrible. Well, look what you could build here. Look at it, look at it. It's a prime site.
Yeah.
Imagine living it. The funny thing is, if you actually want to get at the river, Coin Street's one of the few places that you can do it.
I suppose this is a part of London that a lot of people don't even know exists. A walkway straight down to the river.
Absolutely. Look at it. If the locals get their way, everybody's going to have the benefit of that. Tourists, everybody. Well, if they get their way, all this is coming down and... Voila, look at that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, this is where London grew up, around the Thames. London is what it is because of the people that lived here. So if he passes this through, Esseltine is saying that he just couldn't give a toss about the ordinary people that live in the towns or the cities, and that they have no say at all in their environment, none at all. You know, and communities are just going to be totally and utterly destroyed. And if he does that, well, it's just opening the floodgates to violence, vandalism, race hatred, anything you like. It's just going to move it because, you know, what other choice they got? You keep treating the people like crap and they're going to turn into crap and they'll turn around and bite you. I'll tell you that.